friends, and welcome to my crafty space. If this is your first time here, my name is Crystal Idunate, and this is a place where I share my memory keeping processes and projects with you. Today, I am actually working on a project that will become a mini album I'm making for my mom. One of the things that I like to do for her and for other people in my family too is to make albums as gifts for birthdays and Christmases and anniversaries and stuff like that, instead of purchasing a present. Memory keeping is a passion of mine, and many of my family members and friends have told me that they would love to have their memories documented too, but that they just don't have the time or the skill or the resources to make an album. So it is one of my most favorite things to do, is to make albums for gifts to give to my family members and my friends. So this album right here is going to be a traveler's notebook for a trip that my parents took back in the summertime with our really close family friends. So I figured I would just turn the camera on and have it going while I put together this album. I get a lot of questions on how I put together my traveler's notebooks, so I thought this might be just a good way for you guys to see how I go about it. I will say that before setting down, or not before setting down, before printing everything off, I do pre-plan the album on the computer. I will go over to the computer and do some screen capturing of what I mean by that, so you can see how I pre-plan some of this stuff to make it easier for the actual putting it together portion. And then once I show you that, I'll come back here to the desk and we'll put this thing together and see if we can't get a mini album done. If not today, then between today and tomorrow, but it'll all be in one video for you guys. So I will speed it up and then we'll get going. So I hope you guys enjoy. So the first thing I'm showing you guys here is how I organize my photos in my computer. So what I do generally with traveler's notebooks like this is I will save all of my photos and then I will organize them into a separate folder for each of the days. And then inside each of the days, I will separate them into separate folders for each of the events or the sites that we saw, or, things like that. Then I will try to choose my photos to roughly fill about 16 spreads. I know that after about 16 pages, the albums will start to burst, and I don't like that. So I try to keep that as my gauge. For each of my spreads, what I like to do for me, I follow a formula where I have one page where it's a full-sized photo, so that's 8.25 tall by 4.25 wide, and then the other side will be a paper, a background paper, journaling card, a smaller photo, something like that. So I'm going to get all those photos edited and cropped. Once that's done, I will create canvases, like this canvas right here, that is 8.5 inches wide by 8.25 inches tall. So that is the size of 2 traveler's notebook pages side by side, or one full spread. And I will create what will become my album on here. So for instance, that one that I just did was to represent the title page. So the inside of my cover will be blank, and then the page next to that will be my title, where I hope to use a Michigan stamp and put a star and the location of where we traveled to, or they traveled to. And that's the first one. So I save that as both a Photoshop file, so if I need to edit it, I can, and also as a JPEG, so I can quickly pull that up and look at it as a photo. Then I'm moving on to the first actual spread, and I just threw my picture on there and I'm saving it. The first thing I'm going to do here is get my pictures situated for all of the spreads, and then I'll go back in and figure out papers, journaling cards, and that sort of thing. If I want to use smaller pictures on the spread, I will figure that out right now as well. Another thing that I like to do is alternate my, like which side those large photos show up on. So you'll see that they pretty much alternate sides for each one. So that is what I'm going to continue doing right here. This next one, yes, is an example where I'm going to use both a full page photo as well as a smaller 3x4 photo. Now I have 2 of them that I want to use, and I generally like to have a place for journaling on each page. So I am going to create a flip up on this page in real life. So to represent that, I'm going to put one of the photos on there to show that, the photo is going to be on there. And then this one's going to go above it. So you're only going to be able to see a portion of it. But that's to represent that photo will flip up, and that's what you're going to see on the underneath. Then I will move on to the next one. So you can see that I'm saving them as the Photoshop, and then I'm also saving them as the JPEG. This particular notebook is smaller. I believe it is only 8 spreads, which includes the title page and the conclusion page. That's just because they didn't have a ton of photos. So a recent traveler's notebook that I made was for a trip down to Florida, and I ended up making 2 16 spread traveler's notebooks for that one trip. And the trip was a total of 4 days that we were down there, but we went to a couple parks and we just jam-packed our vacation. So I had 2 notebooks worth. This photo is one that I wanted to have more of a view of. So I actually cropped it to be, I think it's 6 inches wide by 8.25 tall. So what will happen with that one is it will be trimmed, a portion of it will be trimmed off and added to the opposite page, which you'll be able to see that when I complete it in physical form. This is the last one that will be using photos. And again, this is another instance where I will be creating a flip up. So I'm putting those on there so I can see, yep, here's where the flip up's going to be. I want this one to show on the bottom, and I want it, when it flips up, to see that lighthouse. Now I am going to go back through these and figure out journaling cards. So sometimes I will get digital traveler's notebook pages. Sometimes I will alter a 3x4 card or a 4x6 card to make it into a traveler's notebook size of a page. I don't know, I can't remember if I show that. Oh, here I am flipping through it, so you can kind of see the flow. This is how it's going to flow. And now let's figure out some journaling cards. One of my favorite businesses to go to for digital products is In a Creative Bubble. She releases different collections all the time, and she has a couple of travel ones, travel themed ones, which I believe is where this one came from. So now I have that one up, and I'm going to kind of go through my pictures and see, okay, do I like this paper? There's this wander and wonder. Do I like this one next to that photo? And I'm it's okay. I'm not crazy about it. Let's see if I have anything else that's better. And then I pulled this one up and ended up going with this one because look at that. That wander orangey color matches the color of my dad's shirt. So that is perfect. And I will save that. I also, when I do that, I will save the journaling card in the same file, so that when I go to print them out, because the journaling cards I will print on plain white cardstock, and the photos I will print on photo paper. So I want everything easily accessible for when I go to print it all out. So now this one, I'm going to pull up the photo of the the view that they had of the city. And I pulled up the Photoshop file, because I wanted to be able to place that behind the photo layer. That way it just peeks out and you can see it there. And I will save that. And then we'll see what happens next after I do that. Trying to think if I show you guys one more, or if I skip around. Oh, okay, so that's me just saving it into the file. Okay, so now we're skipping ahead. And so I have gone ahead, I've figured out all my papers. There they all are. I'm highlighting them up at the top. I have them all saved and ready to go. So let's flip through and you can kind of see what this is going to look like when it's done. So I've got that getaway, here we go, wander and wonder, adventure is worthwhile. And then when you flip it, there's the journaling card, stories, for the record, that map that we did earlier, and then this one, and when it flips up, there's a journaling card underneath and a highlights on the back. Okay, so now let's go back to the desk and I'll show you the rest. So now that we're at my desk, what I'm going to do first is create the bones of my traveler's notebook. So sometimes I will purchase like an already done traveler's notebook, one that's from a company, and sometimes I will just make my own. So for this one, I decided to just go ahead and do it myself. This paper right here that I am folding is literally just printer paper, like regular old copy paper. I am planning to like tape stuff on top of it, so I just wanted it to be super thin. And what I did with the printer paper is I scored it directly in half. So it's 8.5 wide by 8.25 tall, and I scored it perfectly in half. Now this paper is going to be my cover. So it is scrapbook paper and is thicker and nicer and will last. Something I have learned in creating my own is that I like to cut it out to be a little bit wider than the paper itself. I did make it taller as well, so I made it about 1/2 inch taller and 1/2 inch wider. So it's, what is that? It's 9 inches wide by 8.75 tall, because as the pages are glued together and then like put together, it's going to make it fatter, and the cover is going to be a little bit rounded. So by making it wider, the cover will cover that's funny, the entire book. What you don't necessarily need to do is make it as tall. So my recommendation is to cut your page at 9 inches wide by 8.25 tall. So it can be the same height as all of your papers. Just make it 1/2 inch wider so that it will help to contain all of your pages. So there I was cutting out my cards and my papers and all of that. And then right here, I'm cutting out my photos, just getting everything trimmed up and ready to go. I had to figure out which side was it supposed to be on? While I was filming this video, my husband was playing an online game with his friends. He plays D&D twice a month. So he was on my computer, so I didn't want to interrupt him right then and there. Then I'm going to pull aside those scrap pieces, because I like to use scraps to stamp on, just to prime my stamps. So I keep all that. Here, what I'm doing is putting together the papers and the photos that will go together. That way, when I'm working on this, I don't have to rummage around and find everything. It's just in a pile, in order, ready to go. So there's just a few more. There's that one and the final one. So now there's essentially my book is right there, and all I need to do is assemble it and embellish it. So, here it is where I figured out which side of that photo I needed to trim a portion off of it. And now I will get started on my album. So this first page is going to be, I'm going to stamp on it to make my title. Also, this is my stamp storage. I have 2 of these bins full of stamps, and I actually just got another one. I probably need to go through them and make sure everything is still something I use. But you guys, I stamp a lot, so it's all good. So what I'm doing is leafing through all of these to pull out anything that looks like I might use it. So I pulled out that Clear and Cloudy stamp, the Local Living from Future Craft, just anything that had a sentiment on it that I felt would be a good match for the theme of this album, which is a lot of travel and explore and that sort of stuff. So here's the Michigan stamp. That stamp is from Studio Calico. I believe they are redoing, or they have redone, their state stamps. But so this might be an older version, but it's really cool. I like to get these for vacations. Like when we go on trips to different states, I like to grab these stamps mostly for making the titles of these books. There are a few states that we visit often because people live there. So like we have family in North Carolina, we have family in Oklahoma, we have family in Montana. So sometimes, there are certain states I know that we will visit more often. Florida's another one that we go to often. No family there, just, there's a lot happening in Florida. So then I pulled out two, I am lost for words, two alphabet stamps, to figure out which one I could spell the city in. So this is a trip they took to Saugatuck, which is on the west side of Michigan, near Lake Michigan, or on Lake Michigan. And that first alphabet stamp was just too big. I really liked the font of it. I wish it would have fit and worked, but it's too wide. So then I pulled out this tiny one. This is a stamp set from Kelly Perky. It's called Ruby, and I know for a fact she does not have it anymore. But I love it because it's like super tiny. And so you can fit long words like that on a page pretty easily. Then I was thinking about how to put the date on there. One of my favorite date stamps is that one right there. It is from Elle Studio. But I just felt like that you can see the boxes. There's 3 boxes. I just felt like it was too big and bulky. So instead, I pulled out my Monthly Matters stamp set from Future Craft and decided that I would add the month and the year at the top of the page, which you will see me do that later. Now, I can't remember if I keep in the part of this. I mess up here. Like, it's really not that bad, but I just couldn't leave it. So I'm going to stamp down this Michigan map, which look at how beautiful that is. That is like a beautiful stamp. So I'm going to stamp it down. I'm using my scrapbook.com premium black ink, and it is amazing, you guys. It's my favorite ink. I highly, highly recommend it. So I stamp it down. It's a little bit crooked, but I can deal with that. Like, I'm okay with that. Then I'm going to grab my alphabet stamps, and I'm going to, you'll see me count on my fingers the number of letters in the word Saugatuck, so I can figure out what is the middle letter, which will end up being A. And when am I going to do that? Right now? Yes. Okay, so here I am. So I'm going to grab, first I'm grabbing the heart. So there's this little heart in there that I wanted to use to notate where Saugatuck is. So it's right over there. We live on the east side of the state, but the west side of Michigan is like by far and large our favorite. Like if I could live there, I would live there in a heartbeat, but I don't want to live there if all my family is over here. So here we are. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp this down, which A is in the middle, and you guys, I stamped the A backwards. So I don't even know So it takes me a second to realize it. Like I'm going to go stamp this right here, and I'm like, why does this look weird? Something is weird. Oh my God, I stamped this backwards. Can I deal with this? Can I? And then I decide, no, I just can't. I can't deal with it. I can't have a crooked map and a backwards A. If it was something that I was making for me, maybe, but since I'm giving it as a gift, I just had to fix it. So I pulled out another one of the papers that I already scored and folded, and then I just redid it. I'm going to skip over a portion of this so you guys don't have to watch me stamp out the entire thing. I'm pretty sure. Do I not? Okay, I'm pretty sure I do it, but if I don't, sorry. Sorry, it's going to be a little boring. Anyway, so I fixed that up. The map is on there. And then up at the top, you can see the August in 2019. So that I'm going to kind of fluff about. Like, I couldn't figure out if I wanted it below Saugatuck or above the map. I end up going with above the map, and I'm happy I did because I think it balances the page pretty nicely. What else? And I will stamp that heart again on this map because you can see I didn't do that. I think I forgot about it, and then at the end I realized, wait a second, I don't have that heart on there. And I choose to go with the orange archival ink instead of the yellow scrapbook.com ink, which I like. Yep, so here I go. I'm going to stamp that heart. I like it because it pops out a lot more. Like, it definitely draws your eye more than yellow. You can even see there on that scrap piece, like your eye is drawn to the orange. So I'm glad I did that. The archival inks are also super good. They do, like, just as a forewarning, they do dye your stamps. Actually, so does the scrapbook.com black ink. It dyes your stamps. So I will often use Tim Holtz Distress inks, and those just wipe right off of your stamp, and like it literally looks like you've never used your stamp before. These ones, the archival and the scrapbook.com inks, they will stain it, but it's totally fine. Like, you can still use it. You just got to make sure you clean it really good so it doesn't like mix in with the inks for the other pads of ink that you'll use. Okay, so there we go. So there is the title page all done. That one, the one that I like messed up on, I'm still going to use that page because everything that I will be putting in here from now on is just going to be taped on top. And I figure that I can cover it up. Hopefully I won't be able to see through to it. So now I've got my paper on there. So the Getaway, that was a 3x4 journaling card from from In a Creative Bubble that I altered into a 4.25 by 8.25 page. Then these embellishments that you see me pull out and the puffy stickers, and is there anything else I bring out from that collection? I don't think so, but the tags. So there's shipping tags, embellishments, and puffy stickers. Those are all from the Out and About. Is it Out and About? I will link it down below, but I believe it is Out and About scrapbook collection that is from Pink Fresh Studio, but it was designed by Geraldine, who is in a Creative Bubble. So it works perfectly because I'm using a lot of her papers, which have like a certain feel to them. And so these embellishments and stickers and all the little bits and pieces here will match it like super nicely. Just the whole feel of it will go together. So I have that tag right there that I really liked. I liked how it looked underneath the Getaway. So I will put that there. And then I'm trying to think about like that white space down there. Like, what can I do to fill it in a little bit more? And what I end up doing is pulling out a stamp set from Allie Edwards. It is from a story kit from the Details story kit. So it is the story stamp Details. And it's got 3 stamps on it that says Detail 1, Detail 2, and Detail 3. And I will stamp those in that white space just to give an area for journaling. I will also create a tiny embellishment cluster down here in the bottom left-hand corner of that photograph. So I have the arrow, and then I will find a little circle puffy sticker to put right by the arrow. Yep, right there. I am a huge fan of using tweezers. You will see me do it all the time. Sometimes I just feel like I can't see very well with my fingers, so having tweezers helps me position things where I want them to be positioned a little bit better. So right here, I am taping down the shipping tag because I just want to use it as an embellishment. I just like it that way. And then I will pull my stickers over here. Like, what can I put in the hole there at the top? And there is a tiny little yellow sticker, tiny little circle that perfectly fits in there. So I am going to put that on there as a decoration just to make it look not as much like a tag and more like, it's purposeful. So I guess before I do that, here I am doing the stamps. I couldn't decide if I wanted to do just 2 details or 3 details. I like the idea of 3 because I like the balance that 3 brings. But I wasn't sure if I was going to run out of space. So I will stamp the first 2 and then decide, yep, I'm going to go ahead and do the 3rd one. So a note on this, I did not go on this trip. This is something, so I want to say last spring, my mom and I were talking, and she was saying that something she would really like is to get her trips documented like we do, but as like gifts for her birthday or for Christmas or her anniversary. So she knows that, this is a thing that I do for her. So when she goes on trips, she'll take a bunch of photos and then she'll give them to me. So she already goes through them and picks out the ones that she likes the best and gives them to me. And then I can use that selection to further edit down if I need to, or, if I can get them all in, I'll try to get them all in for her albums. But since I am not there for these trips, I will do one of 2 things. I will either send a questionnaire to her. So like, where did you go? What was your favorite thing about this place? Like, maybe it's this intro page would be like, why did you choose to go to Saugatuck? And what was it like getting there? Did you drive? Did you fly? Did you carpool with people? And I'll ask her a bunch of questions, and then she'll fill that out and send it back to me, and I will adapt her questions into her journaling. So sometimes I will pre-do that for her. Like, she has to answer the questions and do the work, but then I will put it in here so that she doesn't have to do that once she receives the album. And then other times I will just leave her space where she can write in it herself. So this album, I did not send her questions. I wanted to just get it done, and she was out of town, and it was just easier for me to just get it done and she can fill it in later. So that is why there will not be journaling. But if you are doing a gift album for somebody, if you're doing it as a surprise, obviously you can't send them a questionnaire and find all that information out. But if they know you're doing it, if you're okay with them knowing you're doing it, sending over a questionnaire or just kind of like interviewing them about their trip is a great way to, I guess, gather information about their trip so that you can add the journaling in for them. Because if we're honest, most people will not do it. Most people will not fill anything in, and it will just sit blank. So I also try to plan for that. And I try to at least make the journaling spots pretty or make them not take up a crazy amount of space. Okay, so we're moving on to the second spread for today. And this is the last one that I'm going to do in this video. So I pulled out this stamp set. This one is called Explorer. It's either Explore or Explorer. Again, I will link it down below. It is from Studio Calico. I'm not sure if I end up picking anything from, I do. I do pick a stamp from that stamp set. These ones, the travel stamps that Studio Calico released last year were awesome. I think I have, if not all of them, most of them, and I use the crap out of them. Like, I use so much of them. So I pulled the ones that I liked to the side, and then I started leafing through this little container of all the embellishments. It's what I like to do with them when I'm using embellishments. And what I mean by that is put them in a little container so that they're just right there at hand. And I pulled a few out that I really liked. So the first thing I had was like a teal flag. And then I found, again, one that's kind of orange, and that gives me the orange in 3 places. So it's on the Wander text, it's on my dad's shirt, and then it's up on the flag that says my happy place. So I felt like the way that it was all positioned on there just helped like guide your eye through the spread, I think is the best way I can say it. And then I found those 2 little, what are those called? Like flags? They're not flags. Tags? I don't know. They're the fishtail labels. I think they're labels. Anyway, one says this moment and the other one says keep on exploring. And I thought that they were really cute in between the letters of Wander. So I'm doing that. Then I have this little geotag that is like a bright blue color. It's not the same blue as the sky, and I think that's a good thing because you can see it and it gives dimension. It doesn't blend in too much, but it also is a tone that goes well with this photo. So I will glue everything down, or use my tape runner and tape everything down. And then I want that cluster up at the top to have something else. Like it's good, but I just feel like it could use something else, and I haven't stamped yet, and I feel like that was bothering me that I didn't stamp anything on the other page, and I was like, I can't have another spread where I don't stamp anything. Like, that's just not me. So I found this one that says just go, and it is a solid like flag stamp right there. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure if that's what I want to go with yet. Sometimes those solid ones don't stamp solid, and that bothers me. So I was debating, like, do I want to actually give this a try, or do I want to see if there's anything else that I like better? Maybe I need something on the left side. Maybe that will help it feel balanced, but maybe not. I do end up stamping it. So I will use my Scrapbook.com premium ink again. Premium dye ink. I think it's a dye ink. It definitely is because it stains my stamp. So my premium dye ink. I will use that again on my photo. I stamp it on my photos. I have been doing this for, to be honest, it hasn't been that long, but it's definitely been maybe a year that I've been stamping with Scrapbook.com ink on my photos, and I haven't had any issues with it. Like no discoloration, no bleeding, no any of that. Partially, that's probably because of my paper. I know that sometimes stamping on photos, it matters what paper you use, and I use Canon glossy paper. But I don't know if you saw there, but it ended up stamping perfectly, and I was super pleased with that. Oh, I didn't mention this before. So when I am taping these pages down to my notebook pages, I use score tape. This is just a double-sided adhesive tape that I get from scrapbook.com. It is crazy strong. So like if you mess up, you will tear something. That will happen. So just don't mess up. But it holds really well. So when I'm making books like this, I like to use that so that I can feel assured that they are not going anywhere, that they are staying stuck down there forever. So I am going to put the book together now. So I'm going to tape my pages down. This one I am pulling over the page that had the Michigan map on it. I'm also going to pull another photo over that's going to go on the back side just to see, can I see through? And I can't. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that page right here. Once I do that, I'm going to tape everything down and that will be it for today. I'll pull the book over and flip through the pages for you to see, and then we'll come back next time and do the next couple of pages. So I just want to say thank you guys for stopping in today and watching the first bit of this book come together. I hope you guys are inspired to try out a traveler's notebook of your own. And until next time, hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you in the next video.